Can I do this? I don't know. We'll be the witnesses. Hello, everyone. This is your friend Carlz doing an impromptu attempt at doing this week's comics with like the remnants of a cold. So apologize in advance. I'm trying to adjust. Can I adjust my own voice speech to make it so it sort of doesn't hurt, or like it doesn't sound like I've been gargling on razor blades? Well, I don't think it sounds that bad, but for the sake of just pulling through this while still being not technically sick but suffering still the consequences of it, I wish that my voice was harsh and my throat was hurt because I did something worthwhile, not just coughing my lungs out, you know? But anyways, comics don't stop, so I do my best not to stop. Is that a superpower? I don't know. But let's dive right into it, because even though I'm sick, I still want to talk about comics. First off, the new story in the Marvel Alien saga, Alien Kingkiller, written by Saladin Ahmed, who we've seen a lot in Miles Morales, if I'm not mistaken. So, quick thing about this one in particular, they are gonna do a story like in reverse. So instead of being few aliens or like just a bunch of them killing people, the planet is already overrun by aliens. That's an interesting premise, but the one thing that triggered me about that premise is that aren't the xenomorphs supposed to be the perfect organisms? How come are people still alive even though they are ruling the planet? So the most obvious answer is that kind of like the trick of the story, the secret of the story, the catch of the story is probably going to be the reason why these human factions are still alive even though they live in a planet overrun by xenomorphs. And if you do publicity for something like this, you always say like, oh, there are secrets laying around and exciting secrets. But there are always exciting secrets with Alien. Nobody never really knows. And as I've mentioned before, even if you attempt to explain what's going on, you get shut down because people don't like this shit. Though that of course is a nod to Prometheus and Alien Covenant. The story that wasn't meant to be, I guess. The one thing I can highly recommend about the Marvel Alien and what all the things they do with the 20th Century Fox IPs is that they can bring some consistency to them. I mentioned that during my Predator Badlands review. These properties can get a little bit slow in between movies, and even though clearly they don't give the most attention to the comics or anything but the movies, these are stories that keep playing with the concept that make these IPs and these characters memorable. So even if I haven't liked all of what the Marvel has done with Alien, they keep the ball running in more than one sense, and they do it good. They have chosen great artists, great writers, and they have done plenty of interesting things. As I mentioned before, I already forgot the name of that Alien volume with Marvel, where they had the synthetic playing the lady's dad, and they created this weird family bond. That was the best one. That was the best Alien book by Marvel to me to date, because the twist was good. The setting, even though it was traditional for Alien, it was great. You could feel the tension, you could feel the violence, and you could feel the drama in the end. It was emotional. But yeah, more Alien by Marvel. Why not? Let's keep them rolling until we get another good movie or another good series. You know? Because Alien Earth didn't end up as good as I would like it to have ended. Next, this I'm gonna do kind of like a overall DC recognition sort of thing. So the previous story arc in Batman ended. There's a new one coming up about stories of Gotham. Okay, but the one thing I want to comment is that they are incorporating Mayor Ivy. You know, it is something that happened so low key in between these books, but to me, it's something that I need to acknowledge, and it's something that I really need to somehow recognize, because they don't do this often. These are no crossover team ups or anything. They're sort of recognizing the change in the status quo, which basically give us a bunch of books that needs to coordinate to manage to keep a certain storyline in between all of them. When Randall Savage was mayor of Gotham, that was like easier to not ignore, but like easy to put aside. But now that Ivy is mayor, that is not something you can easily brush off, because whatever happens affects more than one book. She's a more important character than Randall Savage. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the current run of Batman. I think it was okay, and what Fraction has done is cool as everything he does. It has some charisma, it has some twists and turns, but I'm yet to see like a big objective. I'm like a north, you know. I'm failing to see where this run is aiming. It might be a little bit like a late bloomer, I guess, but the first story arc, it was fun. It began more entertaining than it ended with the whole Team Drake situation. But as I said, I'm here basically to acknowledge this week is kind of like cohesive effort for the Gotham-based characters. That's interesting enough to make you pick up all of these titles. Next. So another person that I am not necessarily a fan of is Kevin Smith. I don't hate him, but I think like he has done a couple of things that I've liked, especially in movies. But like after Clerks, I don't know. I think I don't mean to sound mean, but I think he tries too hard sometimes. He's clearly someone who is more of an icon than his work deserves, you know. And again, I mean no disrespect, but come on. But anyways, he's writing what they call it Bizzaro Year None, but it's a new origin story for Bizzaro. Bizzaro has also been a character that hasn't had a clear objective in a long time. When he was part of the Outlaws with Red Hood and everything, I already stated that I really liked that series. He at least was noteworthy. So what I like about this, Kevin Smith or not, is for them to make Bizzaro a character again. Last time I think I saw him being somehow relevant was during Red Hood's Task Force Zombie thing, right? I think so. Bizzaro is a really interesting character, and I think when they use him in kind of like an ideological commentary, it's really interesting, and it can make for great storytelling. When he is downplayed to just a villain that talks funny, yeah, that's not really that good. So if he's getting his own new kind of like, I'm not sure if it's gonna be a retcon origin story. It's gonna be another Bizzaro. We already know that Bizzaro world exists. We have seen it plenty of times. I don't know if they're gonna play on that. I don't know, but man, I think Bizzaro is a character that deserves a year one or a year none in this case. I tried to read Kevin Smith's last creator-owned book. I don't remember what it was called, but as I said, I think he tries too hard to make like common or like everyday situation into special ones, and sometimes he gets into one of what things I hate the most about comic book writers. Sometimes they get too wordy. I think I'm as I said, I'm not an academic or anything like, but I always think that one of the greatest things you can do as a comic book writer, from the reader point of view, is to get the proper balance between words and art. I don't know. Probably there's some academic term or like someone more knowledgeable than me has done a proper analysis on it. But me as a consumer, I always feel like, okay, I'm reading this, I'm enjoying this art. I think the art is telling part of the story. The art is so engaging, and sometimes, poof, you plaster with like 90% of dialogue. You know, if you read enough comics, you understand what I'm saying, and then you get into that page, like sometimes a spread, and like a full-on spread with so much text, and you go like, the story and the art is not that interesting for me to get me interested into reading this whole thing. Unlike books where there's no alternative, you are kind of forced to read it. Like if you want to know what's going on, if you want to keep going on the story, you're forced to read it. But in comics, you feel like I'll be rejected by the wordiness, because you have more than one ways of approaching the story. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, Bizzaro year none. I like the character. I'm fine with Kevin Smith, so I'm giving this a chance. Next. So, as the Avengers run ended, last week we mentioned Imperial Guardians. We're gonna have Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, doing stuff there. But this week there's another comic book starring Carol Danvers that is called Captain Marvel Dark Past. As a Captain Marvel fan, as a Miss Marvel fan, like I was interested in the drama. I got into Miss Marvel with the whole alcoholism story arc that now is kind of like controversial a little bit. It was kind of like, it's kind of dated, but anyways, ever since the Captain Marvel kind of like rebuild happened, the now legendary Kelly Sue run, I don't think any Captain Marvel solo story has been really that good. In this new one, the appeal of it, the pitch is like something from her past is coming up again. Like, we already saw that when we discovered her mom was half Cree, didn't we? What else could happen to her? When she discovered her mom was part Cree, it was actually quite fun because we got to see her brothers and their like Boston type of family dynamics. It was really fucked up, but in the end they all loved each other. So I find it a little bit. I don't want to be like overly critical, but like, isn't it more of the same? Like, how can there be yet another secret from Carol Danvers' past? And of course, if you're a fan of the character, this is like a trick, because you obviously want to read it, you obviously want to know, because these secrets, these character elements are gonna be permanent. They are gonna be part of the character henceforth. That was happening when we discovered her. Was it her mom though? Yeah, her mom was Kree, right? But anyways, that changed the character forever. Like, she's not just a human with power, she's half Kree. So this is the cheapest way to make you interested in something. You know, there's a new secret about this character you like's past that may change it forever. Whoa. At least Paul Jenkins, I'm pretty sure he wrote John Constantine at some point, right? Or maybe a Hellblazer story. And as I said, at some point, every Hellblazer writer, to me, gets some leeway, you know. So let's see what happens with Captain Marvel's dark past. What new secret will be revealed? Who knows? We'll know, and we'll judge eventually. Next. So this to me is the book of the week, but mostly because I'm craving a good Daredevil story. You know, the ongoing show for the MCU, Daredevil Born Again, is pretty good, but we all know it's basically Devil's Reign sort of repackaged. So it's good because it just reminds you of that story or that era. And I think after Daredevil came back from hell as Father Matt, and well, if you don't remember, he went back to hell to save Foggy's soul, right? And the thing is, he came back, and it was interesting, the idea of him to wanting to lay low, to wanting to be Father Matt, not to be Daredevil. The idea of him acknowledging that, to kind of like coordinate his desire to do good with his faith, which has always been one of the most interesting aspects of Daredevil and Matt Murdock. He sort of realized that the best way to channel both of those interests for the sake of his own justice was to be a priest rather to be Daredevil. So the origin of that story, the beginning of that story was pretty interesting, but then it just became another superhero story. It lacked a little bit of Daredevil flair, and Stephanie Phillips, who is in charge of this new story, they've been hyping up this new story arc a lot. And of course they use all of these euphemisms in the what do you call it, in the press release, right? Like, oh, it's never gonna be the same, it's gonna change forever, blah 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 blah, you've never seen it before, blah blah blah. Who knows, man? But above everything, I want to read this because Stephanie Phillips's Planet She-Hulk got cancelled, and that shit was just mean. And I'm craving a refreshed Daredevil story, you know, as much as I'm craving a Punisher. Now that we are talking about it, you know, I'm on a Daredevil craving, let's just say, like coming like mostly from the show, which has been great, but as I've said, it's just chops and pieces of like recent comic stories that have been awesome. So anyways, fresh start, we'll have to see, but this is your chance, Stephanie Phillips, to get revenge of those Marvel minis that canceled Planet She-Hulk, which I mentioned it several times. I wasn't the biggest fan, but I always thought it has potential. I always thought it could be something, that X factor of a Hulk being so different, being the leader of Planet Scar. You know, like, it had potential. It could have turned out to be something that we will never see now. Well, the whole Imperial storyline, it's something that we won't see coming to fruition no more. So fuck it. Let's see what she's gonna do with Daredevil. I have a lot of hope for it. Next. This is a short kind of like review for the ongoing Spider-Man Venom story. So the whole Dead Spiral, he's already part 6 out of 9. I wanna say it has been slower than I thought it would be. They hyped it up a lot, and we are like 2/3 in, and nothing much has really happened. And I think the tie-ins for in Carnage, Spider-Man, and Venom have not really been that interesting. It feels like there's a big mystery who this guy is and why he's killing people, and that's it. We know that from number 1, right? We know that that's the whole thing, but he has been moving so slow, and I think the payout in the reveal of Mary Jane being Venom to Peter, and and Eddie being with Carnage, that reveal wasn't that impactful as I wanted it to be. They should have given us a little bit more context, or make this a little bit more intense from the what's the name of the bad guy? Spiral? Which they should have given us a little bit more than that. But by now, it's just pieces of mystery. But now he's going after Dylan, Eddie Brock's son, so it's kind of like necessary for this issue to be at least somehow revealing and somehow impactful at the same time. Because this guy like killed Eddie Brock's dad, spoiler. And why am I not afraid of spoiling that? Because nobody fucking knew that Eddie Brock had a dad. You know? It's like how can you be impactful with something like that? Like I don't know, man. It's his dad. Whoa. I don't know, man. But anyways, the Dead Spiral has been quite slow, not interesting enough. The tie-ins hasn't been that strong, but it's a thriller, so you still want to know who this guy is, why is he doing what he does, and what is gonna be the repercussions or consequences for the main characters. So I guess you are in it until the end, if it is only to know who the fuck he is, right? Next. The other day I watched the Eternals movie by Chloe Zhao. I have my thoughts about it. I'm not gonna go that deep into it here, but this is the anniversary for 50th anniversary of the Eternals. A bunch of characters that I think, to me, they are like strange in a sense that they are so important, they are so big, but we rarely see them. Like Jack Kirby's magnum opus, okay, but we barely remember them. And I don't remember like the last time they were like frontline Marvel book, and everybody was thinking about them in an event way, in a comic way. You know, why are they so important yet so forgettable? Are they just so many other big cosmic characters in Marvel? Like, they're never gonna be X-Men or Avengers, of course. But man, can't help but thinking, okay, if they're gonna do something Eternals, just check it out. If it is only for like Jack Kirby's legacy, yeah, you know. So the only thing I can say is just go for it, and hopefully it will make you want to watch the movie. I think it has good things about it, But anyways, a week comes, they show the big Eternals logo. Was that the same, the logo all the time? That logo is kind of crappy. It's like it's jumping out of the screen. It looks like a Saturday morning cartoon logo, like the Eternal, you know. At least since I rewatched the movie recently, I'm coming in fresh with all of these fucking characters. Next. This is the most stupid recommendation I can give you this week. You know that Domo Arigato Mr. Roboto by Styx? You know that? And like the robot at the end, it goes, my name is Killroy. So I was looking at the releases for the week, and apparently this book about kind of like a detective hero could be like he has power, but so he's like a superhero that protects the weak, but like he avenged them in a violent way, and he leaves the call sign Killroy was here. And I'm like, and I haven't heard of this character, but I went like, oh, Killroy, like the song. I'm gonna check this book out. That's it. That's all it took. Like Killroy, like the Stick song, Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. Sorry, please allow me to be more stupid than I am sometimes. Like I have nothing to say about the author. I have nothing to say about the character. All I have to say is that, hey, Killroy, like the Stick song. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'll come back to you guys after I read it, and I don't know, maybe I'll have something more interesting to say than it sounds like a character from a Stick song. Sorry. But I'm being brutally honest. That is the one reason why I'm interested in this book. I know it has nothing to do with the song, I'm pretty sure, but that's it. Sometimes that's all it takes to catch your attention. Next, I want to make a quick comment about the Logan book. I mentioned liking it or being interested because there are aspects of the Wolverine of Logan that are different from the Wolverine. So if you're gonna make a Logan book, even if it's short stories and not a Wolverine book, you're always gonna tap into something different, and they have done it for these 4 issues of Logan Black, White, and Blood. But why am I recommending it now again? Because the other day we were talking about the period where Logan was the headmaster of the school, the whole Wolverine and the X-Men era. And I think that some of that aspect should have been somehow part of Logan before he was Wolverine. We've seen all of these stories of like violence and like explosions of aggressiveness in these 4 issues and stories of Logan. They all have been okay, quite entertaining, but they all go into that baseline of Logan was always a good guy in dire situations, like the good guy in a bad place, and he always had like violent tendencies, but he was always fighting his good side. That's kind of like the main Wolverine thing, right? He's not on that quote unquote anti-hero like side of storytelling. He's not an anti-hero, he's a hero, but he's just highly dramatic, and he's just highly against the grain, you know, with his back always against the wall. So the only way to escape is scratching and punching and stabbing his way out. But I'm really hoping before this series end they give us some of that Logan. because Wolverine and the X-Men showed a side of Wolverine that was so special, man. The fact that he was nurturing and he was father-like from the beginning is something you could see and experience during that time of the character's story, and it hasn't left him. If you see Uncanny X-Men now, and if you see any book with him and Laura X-23, or like the new interaction he has had with Daken, which has been really fucked up, you can see he was always a father at heart as well. So I hope they tap into that. This is kind of like a segue commentary on a book that is not necessarily going to be about that, but it's something that I want to see in it. You know? Anyways, it has been good. So, more Logan, something that we will have forever. It's just like Spider-Man. I wonder which hero could have the longest time tenure in Marvel without having an ongoing book in a way. Certainly it would never be Spider-Man, it would never be Wolverine. I think Iron Man has been a couple of months without any book. I think Captain America as well. But like, okay, I digress. Next. Welcome to Controversy Town. I'm recommending this book, as I said, because I like the fact that they are bringing not only Batman, not only Poison Ivy, but Catwoman also to the mix. I haven't read this book yet, but already the reaction have been quite negative, and they all are related to something that I myself didn't like at some point, and I also commented it. The Harley thing. That's it. Everybody is complaining it, and everybody is shocked that they did that. And I don't want to spoil myself the book because I haven't read it, so I haven't gone that deep into the controversy behind it. But apparently a lot of people have hated it. They have hated because it's sort of like a manipulating type of tactic. Before Major Ivy, the whole Terrorist Ivy was super entertaining, and as I said, at some point it sort of gave the character back a little bit of its edge. But this Major Ivy story arc has been strange, and people and reviewers are not warm to it, especially because, as I said, it seems like they are manipulating aspects of the character to this point in a way that it seems way too convenient, and everybody hates the Harley Ivy breakup. I told you this is Reed Richards and Sue Storm. That is the true DC's first family. A story of found love between the most unlikely characters that shook up the whole thing. Imagine the kind of like the main couple, the power couple of your company, being this queer, strange, weird mix of real human characters. Like, even what they've done in the Harley Quinn series have been great with those characters. Why would you break that up? Apparently a lot of people are saying that this book has the explanation onto why that they did that. So I'm looking forward to really get my own opinion on that explanation, see how it fits, and see how Selina comes into play. And as I said before, I want to give props because this will also make me more interested in reading the Catwoman book as she comes back to Gotham. So Batman, Poison Ivy, Catwoman, you're gonna want to read all of them, but this one in particular, to get your anger out. I don't know what would I feel when I read it, but I warned you. I saw it, as most people did too. That is not a couple you want to break up, because people love them. you know. We'll see what's going on. I'll get back to you guys. This will definitely be an update after I read this. Next. You know, like I always look at the new image books that are coming out, and like sometimes you don't have a reference because you don't know the authors. They might be too new. You know, you sometimes you need only one reference, and of course the main one is always the author. The author's Derek Kirkim. He wrote the short. I think I read it. Yeah, I read it. The at least book one, what is called The Last Mermaid. It was a really interesting story about literally the last mermaid. She would live inside this mecha in a world without water, so her whole adventure was to look for a place to live. She meets a boy in the way. They develop a strange emotional, I don't want to say romantic, but emotional relationship. It's an adventure book, and a really good one for that matter. So when I heard he's doing a new book called Royals, yeah, as I mentioned before, I was interested in that other book only because the name of the character was Killroy. You know? So this is a little bit stronger. The author is there. Even though there's a story about brothers that have a psychic connection and they hustle. It doesn't sound anything like The Last Mermaid. But one of the other funny things is that they go against the leader of a band called the Bloody Cox. It's a criminal syndicate in Korea. It's called the Bloody Cox. And I know, it's not about the cock, but about the cocks. You know, it's a cock reference. But it's funny, man. Sue me. What? How would you name your gang the Bloody Cox? You know, is that to make you seem stronger or to make you seem weaker? So even if we think it's a reference to the penis, like bloody penis, is that badass or is that just sad? If you name your gang Bloody Penis, I don't know, man. It doesn't really sound intimidating. Yeah, I would feel sad for your gang. It would kind of like mean that you need to have bloody penis to go into. And is that something you should get checked out? I don't know. I love hustle stories and I loved The Last Mermaid, so I'm down for it. What was that? No, I'm not thinking about Ocean's 11. I'm thinking about the first season of Poker Face. The series from the Knives Out guy, not the Star Wars guy, the Knives Out guy. You know, the first season was so good, and it also it was about hustling, and of course they canceled Poker Face. Boo hoo! That's how they do it. Like, good thing, cancel them. Fuck, you don't get to get anything good. But anyways, we can check Royals where a couple of psychic Korean boys will fight the Bloody Cocks. Next and last but not least, Gary Dugan, who has one of the longest tenures, I guess, and curriculum resumes inside of Marvel, is making a Wonder Man solo book. I think I might have commented when I talk about the Wonder Man series how we haven't seen a Wonder Man solo book in quite a while. Well, having a successful TV show, and you will get a new solo story for Wonder Man. What can I say? They are taking a lot from the series. They're making about LA, they're making it about Hollywood, they're making it about his acting, you know, all the things that were true about the character before the show. But of course they're bringing it back to that. The one thing you can always expect when they do kind of like the reverse thing, right? It's not comic to show, but show to comic. Show does so good, they bring it back to comic. When they do that math, one thing you can always expect is that they're gonna try to push the hero side a little bit stronger, which they cannot do in the TV show. So even if they bring that mysticism that made the show good back to the book, they're probably gonna add some flair to it, because in the comics, he's already a full-fledged hero. He was. So there's no tiptoeing around his powers. There's no tiptoeing around how powerful or how relevant he is. That's all already there. Unless they do a story that is a complete prequel, that would be no fun, you know. But yeah, this is the ecosystem we live in now. If your show does good enough, they're probably gonna bring a lot of shit back into the books. They might even make him black. I don't know. Sometimes they do stuff like that to reincorporate that stuff, and as long as they do it like in a fun, entertaining way, I'm all down for it. You know. But fuck it, Wonder Man #1. Don't miss it, or do it and watch the show. You know, watch the show. If you think it's good, you come to the book, or read the book. If you think it's good, you go to the show. They got you, man. They already got you. But that's it for me this week. I'm already like 5% in voice. Man, already almost lost all of it by talking 40 minutes. But midweek I could talk like 5 minutes. You know? So 40 minutes has been a lot. But it's comics. I might do an episode just to comment on, like, I wanted to do a review for KO. I really have, but I feel like reviewing KO would be ruining so many of the ongoing stories, or like the new upcoming stories, you know. But if I do some update in one of the series that came out of KO, this is KO, I might give it a little bit of like a sideline review. But for now, I better shut up because I'm almost out of voice. So, thank you all for listening. Pick up some comics, read some good stuff. There's always something good to read every week. So I hope you are enjoying it. And don't hate on Ivy, man. Don't hate on it. I don't want to hate on it, but I'll let you know if that ends up being the case. Okay? Thank you for listening again. Bye bye.